There are people who think this is awesome. I think this is really bad. They're using AI now to create avatars of dead people so that the survivors can mourn.
In China, death has long been a taboo topic. A host of companies in China want to use generative AI to change how people cope with loss.
奶奶，我不开心哎。
孩子，要保持正能量。
This is not a good idea.
Yeah, there's this Chinese AI company called Silicon Intelligence, and what they're doing is if your family member passes, you can send in pictures of them, you can send in clips of them speaking, and they will make an AI version of your dead loved one to say the things that they used to say to you to hopefully make you feel good, but it just doesn't feel right to me.
This is about mourning the passing of somebody and using AI to recreate that person as some kind of comfort.
I want to hear it.
I love your sense of humor, and I miss the way you used to snort when you laugh. I love your eyes, and I miss the way your nostrils flare when you're mad at me.
It almost sounded like his voice, like a weird, demented version of his voice. That's really cool.
I'll tell you why I think this is really bad, because there's a whole almost physiological thing with grief, that one of the things you need to do is miss the person and get over the sadness and the grief and keep the memories. But if you allow them to keep holding on, they're never going to grieve properly.
It's part of the human condition of grief and loss and getting through it and then moving on.
This is what makes us human authentically, is that we experience the grief and we grow from that grief. We become different people. This is
authentically is the key word here, because it's extremely unhealthy to say that this is a way to actually grieve. Like, it's not real. It's not a real way.
每一天每一刻，我都希望我能在你们的身边，给你们温暖和力量。
This is Shenmore's voice, brought back into being after his death last year. It may sound robotic and uncanny, but for his parents, it doesn't matter.
People not learning how to live without someone or something, as painful as it could be, is one of the greatest disservices that you can give a human being. And so if you are positioning people, you are introducing software and protocols and practices and procedures that are going to put people in a position where they don't learn how to live without someone or something, it becomes toxic.
So why can't you give closure to people? Are you saying there's no benefit for closure? Let's say like you weren't there when the person died. It was like a tragic accident and that person's really struggling with closure, right? So if you could have a pretty authentic conversation and talk to that AI.
But that's the operative word. There's no authenticity there.
Yeah, it's not authentic. You know what it's like? It's like you're on a diet, but you just want to eat this ice cream sundae because it makes you feel good for about 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden you feel terrible about yourself. And it's the same thing. You listen to this, and it's this placebo type thing, and when it's over, then you have to deal with this reality, and you've just heard this other thing, and it messes you up.
On a deep human level, we see why people are doing this. Again, like, nature is life and death, and when we are holding on to death, we are actually proclaiming we are not present in life.
You know, I have a really good friend who just lost her husband, and they were married for almost 50 years. And she's really grief-stricken because she's never experienced anything like this, and I have. And I told her, I said, this just, it's part of what humans can do. It's part of what animals do. Animals do this, and it's built into us. And to short-circuit it is terrible. And I was trying to tell her, you will get past this. Living beings are programmed to do this kind of thing.
I took a class called Close Relationships Across a Lifespan, which completely reframed the notion of grief for me. It's not something that you get over, per se. It is something that you adapt with into a new version of yourself, which doesn't have to be sad. You can be happy through it. The problem with this is that this stunts the process.
Right, that's right.
But the thing is that the reason that happens is because there are two major moments in someone's life where you are financially irrational. It is a wedding and it is a funeral. And this is an extension of the funeral irrationality. You want to hold on to something and attach yourself to something even though it's already gone.
And the problem is that on a level, you think I'm being comforted, but then you know it's not real, and it drives you crazy.
To your point, Harvey, when the journalist Liz Jones, who also tried this and tried the process of, talking with her deceased mother, she said that she actually had more grief after the situation. And so that's the pain of it.
Because you miss the person more if you feel you're still hanging on.
It could make you doubt your relatives, their relationship.
Would you have another go?
No, because I felt more grief when we ended the chat, because the bot starts to die and she said, I'm going. So it's like she was dying all over again. I think we should let the dead rest in peace and we shouldn't disturb them.
This is misguided comfort.
In addition to the fact that it's misguided comfort, what makes it concerning and unethical to me is that it lays the groundwork for the exploitation of grief, of love, because this is not the only company that is doing this.
With StoryFile Lite, you can record yourself on your desktop computer and mobile devices. And within moments, artificial intelligence transforms your video responses into real-time, interactive conversation. This is the real you.
If one company is doing it and two companies are doing it, where does it end? What's the line in the sand? Where does this become morally not sound anymore?
That comes down to intention though, right? Because the intention of just making videos is for fun, but to be a company that's like, let's exploit all these people who've lost loved ones, but we're only going to sell it to them for 30 days. That's no business model, right? The business model is to get people addicted to your product and to keep them coming back. So their intention is to make a long-term product.
If you want to talk to your deceased relatives, you don't need AI. You can sit in your car and have a conversation to yourself.
All right, let's say they didn't die. Let's say they didn't die, but I had a really bad breakup with somebody.
No.
Oh my God.
I mean, honestly.